Alright, in this training video we're going to talk about how to achieve anything in 60 days. So the structural framework behind effortless progress. What do I mean when I say effortless? It does not mean easy, it actually means the removal of internal resistance. When most people associate achievement, they associate it with intensity. This assumes that if progress is slow, the answer is often just try harder, more willpower, more hours, or more pressure. But in reality, sustained achievement depends far more on friction being reduced rather than force amplification. So what do I mean by that? Well, look at this formula. Output equals applied force minus structured friction. When friction is high, force must be extreme. That makes sense, right? So output equals applied force minus friction. When friction is high, force must be extreme. When friction is low, moderate force still moves the needle forward. You're still making progress. So most individuals try and attempt to increase force while completely ignoring the friction, which is just as equally as important. This creates exhaustion, not momentum. So let's have a look at this visual. So there's two identical blocks. Block A is on sand. That's obviously high friction. Block B is on concrete. Let's assume that's really low friction, okay? So we've got that here. This is the sand, this is the block trying to move it. This is the block on concrete. Look, it's almost like it slides pretty easily, okay? So why am I showing you this? Just giving you the idea we can apply the same force but produce different results. So obviously on sand, same force, it's gonna go pretty slowly because of a lot of resistance. On the concrete, same force, it'll move it very fast, very efficiently. Okay, so where does friction hide in your lives when you're trying to move something forward? What do I mean by friction? I'm not talking about sand, we're talking about real life resistance. So there's multiple simultaneous growth goals, undefined priorities, reactive mornings. Decision fatigue is another example. Emotional spillover from unresolved stress. Digital overstimulation, constantly looking at your phone, Instagram, notifications, things that are just bombarding you, putting you in a state of reaction. Undefined metrics, so what are you actually moving towards? You've got no clarity. And social obligations, which are misaligned with your true direction where you want to go. These factors produce cognitive fragmentation, and fragmentation produces invisible fatigue. And invisible fatigue is often misinterpreted as lack of discipline. In most cases, discipline isn't the primary issue, directional compression is. Let's get into that. So fragmentation and decision fatigue, part 3. So when multiple goals are in active growth mode simultaneously, the mind enters continuous negotiation and switching between these multiple directions. Each negotiation consumes working memory. Research in cognitive psychology showed that repeated decision-making depletes executive function capacity. This phenomenon, commonly referred to as decision fatigue, reduces performance quality and increases impulsive behavior later in the day. For example, if your goal setting includes business scaling, body transformation, relationship improvement, and skill acquisition all at the same time, each hour presents trade-offs. Trade-offs generate micro-stress, and micro-stress accumulates. Accumulative cognitive friction produces perceived heaviness, and heaviness can be labeled from the outside as laziness. The true cause is actually fragmentation. So here is an energy diffusion graphic. So you can see here the total energy is the same, but it's split up in multiple different goals. Whereas the one on the right, very focused, compressed effort. The same energy goes through, but it's very concentrated, and therefore the output is also going to be concentrated, and you're going to see some good results in that particular focused area. So the energy diffusion versus energy compression. So part 4, the 60-day frame. Long-term goals lack urgency. A 1-year target feels pretty abstract. Abstraction reduces your emotional activation and increases strategy switching. Frequent strategy switching prevents compounding. And 60 days, that's obviously a shorter time. You can almost see that in 60 days where you're going to be. That's 2 months' time. That gives you psychological immediacy, measurable progress window. Identity reinforcement cycle. Habit formation research suggests automaticity develops across repeated behavior over weeks, not days. So while habit timelines vary, consistent behavior over 68 weeks significantly reduces your cognitive resistance. 60 days is sufficient to establish behavioral consistency, reduce negotiation, and initiate identity shift. So you're going to actually feel a shift in identity over those 60 days. The primary objective of a 60-day cycle is not outcome alone, but it's to create that identity shift. It is integrating that integration. So part 5, identity as the primary lever. Let's talk about that more. Behavior that conflicts with identity requires force. Behavior aligned with identity requires significant less force. So repeated aligned action leads to identity reinforcement, which leads to reduced resistance and increased consistency. When identity shifts, effort perception also decreases. From I am trying to become X to this is just who I am, I operate in this way. When internal narrative changes, energy leakage also decreases. So here is the identity loop. Behavior leads to evidence. This is the sort of person that I am. This leads to the identity shift. This leads to reduced internal resistance and therefore behavior. Okay, part 6. So this is the compression principle. Compression requires selecting one primary measurable system, not a category, not a vague intention, one specific result. Examples are increasing your revenue from 20k to 35k in 60 days. Sounds pretty reasonable. Reducing your body fat by 4%, maybe it's 20%, you want to get it to 16%. That's pretty reasonable as well. Publish 20 structured essays or close 15 new clients. So specificity reduces your ambiguity. If you're locking in on one particular outcome, and the brain favors this clarity. Clarity reduces your cognitive load. Part 7, maintenance mode strategy. Simultaneous growth across multiple domains exceeds cognitive bandwidth, like we talked about. Human attention resources are finite. Therefore, one domain in growth mode. All others put on the shelf, put on the back burner. They can still grow, you can still water them, maintain them, but they're not in growth mode. Your full energy isn't on them. It's just the minimum amount of energy needed to keep them as they are. Maintenance is not stagnation. Maintenance is structural preservation. Other examples of this can be if your business is in growth mode, then health can be in maintenance mode, or vice versa. Business on maintenance mode, maybe your career's on maintenance mode, but you're putting your main primary focus on improving your health. So health maintenance might look like minimum 3 sessions per week, baseline nutrition compliance, stable sleep schedule. Relationship maintenance might be weekly quality interactions, stress processing. Maintenance ensures no regression, while focus intensifies elsewhere on different areas. So here's the floor and ceiling model. So we've got floor equals maintenance, ceiling equals growth, and only one ceiling is raised at one time. So this produces strategic sequencing. So you're focusing on one area at one time, and then maybe you're happy enough with that, you switch focus to this other area, and then you want to focus on increasing the floor. So part 8, morning structure and cognitive priority. The prefrontal cortex functions optimally before exposure to excessive external stimuli. So you might notice this when you wake up, your brain is pretty fresh. It's pretty ready to focus on something. This happens before you give it all of that stimulation from your phone, or you maybe go out, talk to people. That's when your mind gets pulled in these different directions. So try and keep your mornings not reactive, because reactive mornings increase your cognitive fragmentation. So sequence determines momentum. Your first 60 to 90 minutes of the day is very important. You want to keep that protected. No digital inputs, no reactive communications, no notifications, direct execution of your primary goals. So a few tips: an automated start can reduce decision fatigue, so you know exactly what you're going to do. You have maybe a morning routine, you get right into the work, that's automation. Repetition builds this stability. Stability then builds momentum, and momentum reduces resistance. Okay, so number 9, input tracking over outcome fixation. So often frustration of your goals or your progress is often because you're focusing on the things you can't control, the things you get back, the results, and then that can really affect the process. Whereas if you just focus on the things you can control, the process, and keep track of that, then you're going to keep doing that and the results will come. That's a stronger mindset. It's going to lead to more consistency. So outcomes fluctuate, inputs are controllable. Tracking outcomes daily creates emotional volatility, because no day or no week is going to produce reliable outcomes. Whereas if you track what you do in the day, that's going to be more reliable, less volatile. So for example, if you have a revenue goal, don't focus on all of the money coming in, for example. Instead, track all of the outreaches you put out there, or all of the sales calls you host. So if you have a fitness goal, track your training sessions and nutrition adherence. Don't constantly look at your weight or your strength metrics, for example. That'll come over time. And then skill acquisition, track hours of your deliberate practice. If you want to get better at the piano, don't track the number of people that watch you play. Instead, if that's your goal, instead track the hours you literally put in and sit at the piano. Something simple, something you can control. So research in performance psychology supports process-focused tracking for sustained motivation and reduced anxiety. Consistency of input produces outcome probability. So if we think about that mindset, if you're focused on the process, you're going to be pretty level-headed, pretty grounded, and pretty satisfied, because you can really have control of your inputs. It's kind of like Buddhist or monk-like, when all you have to do is just be satisfied with the process. That's kind of the goal, isn't it? To feel good on the journey, rather than just crave these outputs that you'll get, these results. That's going to be fleeting. Even when you do get them, it's going to be fleeting. A true, strong mindset is going to be someone that just loves the process. So therefore, don't focus on the outputs, the results, the things you can control. Focus on the stuff you can. Fall in love with that process. So, number 10, energy regulation as a multiplier. So what do I mean as a multiplier? Well, cognitive output depends on physiological stability. Sleep deprivation reduces your cognitive performance by 20 to 30%. Chronic overstimulation reduces your sustained attention capacity. Unresolved stress consumes working memory bandwidth. And energy instability amplifies perceived difficulty. Minimum stabilization protocol you could try could be a consistent sleep window, so going to the bed at the same time, waking up at the same time, daily physical movement, even if it's just getting out for a walk, doing a bit of light stretching or easy run. Reduce unnecessary digital stimulation, especially in the first few hours of the day. And emotional hygiene, so regular reflection and stress practicing. So whenever you do feel stressed in the day, if you can take those 1 or 2 minutes just to be aware of that. Maybe it's a bit of deep breathing, maybe it's just like a realization you should, let's let those things go. You're too focused on the outcome, let's focus back on the present moment. So effort emerges when direction is singular, structure is automated, energy is stable, inputs are tracked, and maintenance is protected over the other domains. So you're still watering the other areas, you're not neglecting them, you're just focusing your growth on one particular one. Here's the daily momentum curve. So if you can see on this graph, when you start an activity, when you try and grow something, you're going to meet a bit of resistance, whether that's through your mind or external resistance. So it's going to not be a linear start up, but once you crack those first 2 weeks, you're going to start to have reduced negotiation with doing this behavior. It's going to come easier. You've done it before, you know what works, you know what doesn't. So therefore the path is going to become less resistance. Okay, you're going to start seeing progress. Momentum then starts to stabilize weeks 5 to 8, and then the results are going to come through this. There's going to be a week 3 inflection point. So resistance typically decreases around that week 3. So after your first 2 weeks, you're going to notice there's going to be less resistance. Behavior begins feeling normal. Internal negotiation reduces. At this point, identity transition begins. So you're starting to view yourself as the sort of person that does this behavior. Most abandoned prior to this stage due to the impatience or the strategy switching. You don't like that resistance, it doesn't feel good, but just around the corner in week 3, you're going to notice it's going to become easier, your progress is going to become faster. Because if we see in this curve, the progress actually probably speeds up. It's probably more of a S-type curve as well. Okay, so 13, here's the full framework summary. So this is what I want you to take away from this video. If you've been watching this long, great, fantastic. Here you go, here's a summary for you. Reduce friction before increasing force. Compress focus to one measurable outcome. Place all other domains in maintenance mode. Protect your first 60 to 90 minutes of the day. And track your leading inputs, so inputs that actually you have control over, the process inputs, not fluctuating outcomes or results. Stabilize your energy fundamentals, that will help a lot, and maintain your season integrity for 60 days. Just try 60 days and see how far you can get. Avoid introducing new growth goals mid-cycle. So that's the key, really. You know, just stick to it. I think the hardest part is probably saying no to other opportunities, other things. Stick to something for 60 days. Okay, so here's going to be your implementation protocol. Step 1, define one measurable 60-day objective. Step 2, identify daily controllable input tied directly to that objective, and then you want to track that, you want to be aware of that. Step 3 is block morning execution window for deep work block, whatever it is, to focus on that big goal. Step 4, define maintenance baseline for all of your other areas that are important to you, like health, relationships, personal stability, okay? So things that you can maintain but not grow. Step 5 is commit to 0 structural pivots for 60 days. That's the big one, okay? No new growth goals, no emotional reevaluation every 2 weeks, no reactive direction changes. Stay in the season, okay? Just know that even if you feel unbalanced, you will come back to that area and you'll grow it later on. Just follow through on your 60 days, and maybe you're gonna have a growth area on that other area the next time. But just show yourself you can stick and be focused on one goal for 60 days. Okay, so identity consolidation. Around day 30 to 45, you will have reduced emotional intensity, increased behavior normalization, decreased internal debate, decreased negotiation. Oh, should I do this? Should I not? You'll start to actually feel like, oh, I am actually the sort of person that does that naturally. I have low resistance. It becomes a bit more automatic. When identity integrates, effort perception declines. The work remains, the resistance does not. So the final principle is intensity does not produce effortlessness. Alignment does. Force without compression creates exhaustion. Force with compression creates momentum. Choose your season, commit to 60 days, protect the floor of other things, and raise one ceiling. And just remain long enough in that behavior to actually see these results, for it to seep into your identity. Okay, hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more of this, then just subscribe and I'll see you on the next one.